May. We're very, very, very excited. We have the founders of Massa here, Sébastien, Adrien, and Damir. And yeah, this is the most exciting one we've had. We're literally 4 days away from birthing this thing, and mainnet is going to be launching at 10 a.m. UTC on Monday. So we couldn't be excited. We know that the community's waited long for this, and we wanted to release something that would be absolutely beautiful to the world. And I'm very, very, very thrilled that it's happening. And we got a lot of good questions from the community about it, and we're here to answer them. And expect to see us, more available as we come forward to all kinds of good things that you should stay tuned for announcements for. But there's a bunch of stuff that you can do, right away on mainnet. We have a Medium article that you can talk about. You can look and you can see what our journey's been, what to expect ahead. It's got information about what's on the horizon and the token distribution and what's next with a possible with a public sale that could be coming very, very, very soon. So with that, I'd say, yeah, check the Medium article. Stay tuned. We're here, and we can dive into the questions. So I'd like to. We got a bunch of questions. The first set are really about various allocations for airdrop, and I wanted to direct those to Sebastian. I guess the first one is how many people have an allocation in the mainnet?
So yeah, you have seen that we prepared all the Genesis files for the mainnet, and inside you can have a look. There are, I think, around 25,000 people. These are in part from the testnet incentive program. I think around 10,000, 10,500, something like that. And most of the rest are people from the quests, the dashboard campaign. So around 15,000 people. Then you have a few other people from other categories. So yeah, that's about 25,000. That's I think a lot for the first for the launch of a network. But yeah.
Okay, that's great. And what's the vesting for the testnet node rewards, and for the bonus for the stakers who have good performance in the last episodes?
So the vesting lasts 2 years, and every testnet node runners has 30% unlocked at the beginning, and the 70% that are released for 2 years. And you will be able to see this in your wallet. Correct me if I'm wrong, Damir, but I think you can already see that if you launch a node, you can do get addresses on the client and see the unlocking of your own addresses. Same for any category, by the way. But yeah, this is the vesting.
Okay, that's great. And we go into more.
That was remaining of the question about bonus. So the best stakers from the testnet from the 4 last episodes, 23 to 26, they got a bonus, and this bonus is the same as the same vesting as the rest. So 2 years release and 30% unlocked.
Just also there are nice people that made a couple of bots on Telegram where you can check your balance with your address. So if you don't want to run a node and just want to check fastly, look on Telegram. There are cool bots that you can use. Thanks to people that made it, by the way.
That's great. And a lot of this is we talk about, and how it all works in the Medium article that we just published. So I encourage everybody to check that. What's the allocations for doing the quests? Are they locked or not? And how do you claim it? Do you claim it yourself, or is it just automatically distributed? And if so, to which address?
So for these, the allocation were from 0 to 200 Massa tokens. you were eligible if you got 20% of the points, the experience points on the dashboard, and you got the maximum number of Massa tokens, 200, if you reached 80% of the possible experience points. So these are the amounts. Vesting, no, there's no vesting on these parts. We removed the vesting because there are not very big amounts in Massa tokens. So you get the full amount unlocked, which means if you have more than 100, you can buy a roll and start to stake if you want.
Okay, and when when do people get the tokens for Zealy and the Galaxy tasks? Because we're getting a bunch of questions about that.
Oh yes, these people are not forgotten. Just we will announce in the next weeks how it will be done, how many tokens, vesting, no vesting, all the details you will need will be raised in the next weeks.
Okay, and what about the rewards for Obvious and why it's related to the mainnet?
Yes, the obvious winners. So they will. It's related to the mainnet because we need the mainnet to give you the reward. So I will handle this from the Massa Foundation. So I will contact you to give you the rewards like next week.
Okay, and somebody had written that their bug bounty was validated, and when and how will they receive the reward?
So if your bug bounty is validated, it means you're in contact with myself, and I will give you everything you need by email.
Okay, love it. And what about the hackathon? The hackathon participants, same thing.
We will take care of these also in the first weeks after mainnet. We need some time to sort out everything.
Okay, and I guess the last one, which is kind of general for the airdrop, that was just for all these Galaxy and Zealy allocations and everything. How do people get their tokens, and what will be the circulating supply?
In general, how you get your tokens. So most of what we talked about are tokens that are already in the Genesis files, and that you can check and that you already have sort of, but the mainnet needs to start so that you can move them. So for these people, you already have them in your wallets. Now for the other people, you will get them soon. And about the circulating supply, actually we just published a section in the documentation that gives much more details than before on the unlockings and circulating supply. So you can have a look at the documentation. We will circulate a link for that in the tokenomics section of the docs. But in a few words, it will go from around 10% of the full supply at launch to 100% after 5 years.
Okay, that's great. Then we got a bunch of questions, about all of the exciting stuff that has happened and that is about to happen within days and then weeks, about questions around mainnet and public sale, RTG, which is at mainnet, and listing. So I guess Adrian, you want to take this batch? I guess
yeah, sure.
That would be when listing. When's going to be half the questions coming in?
Yeah, sure. I know a lot of people are talking about the public sale, and rightly so. I know it's frustrating, but for the public sale, as Brian said, like the announcement is coming really, 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 really soon. We're hoping to release it in the next days. But to give you a rough idea of the timeline, basically we are launching the mainnet early next week on Monday. and after that it will be public sale and listing. We don't have any announcement regarding listing yet, but we can say that we have several platforms that have agreed to list the tokens. We are just trying to make sure to choose the right one for the community, for the backers, for the ambassadors, for all the people that are involved. We know it's a very important choice, and we want to make sure that everyone is pleased. But I know it's frustrating, but we don't have names to drop, but this will come in the next days, hopefully.
Okay, so the questions about what platforms are we considering releasing the token into the market, that's just, we can't say yet for legal reasons, but it's very, very, very soon, right?
Yeah, we cannot give a name yet for listing for the public sale, but we are like choosing between the best platform for the community. We know it's very important, but you'll know soon for the public sale, and for listing you'll have to wait a bit more, but we are considering like we are trying to make the best choice for the community.
Okay. And in terms of supply, what will the supply be at TGE?
Yeah, so this is 1 billion tokens, and of these tokens, most of them won't be released right from the start. So the circulating supply, which will be much lower, and it's a blockchain, so you don't have to trust me on this. You can just go on the GitHub and check out the numbers. It's everything is public. So 1 billion token, a large portion of that was about 8% given to node runners, to the community. You have everything. There was a nice section actually that was just written today on the documentation on docs.massa.net on the learn section with all the tokenomics and all a lot of details on the allocated supply for the different categories. So go check it.
Okay. Somebody was asking about Throughput, and they're very bullish on us taking ICP as an inspiration. So they said that, yeah, it had bad tokenomics, but their network fee and their speed was better than Solana or Avalanche, and they're the next big thing, and would love to see us competitive against them. And what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like we are really it's one of the main value proposition of Massa actually to be really scalable and have low fees. So we expect the fee to be basically zero or close to zero for several years, just due to the high throughput of Massa compared to other chains. So but what really differentiates Massa from other chains is that yes, we have a good throughput, and a lot of chains start having a good throughput, but we are also very accessible, and people can be validators, whereas on most of the big chains that have high throughput, this is very hard to become a validator, and this is reserved for a handful of people that have a lot of funds or privilege information or access to the chain. So yeah, low fees, but very accessible.
And people are asking about mainnet. Is that just intended for the node runners? It's or is it for the ecosystem or listing on the market? I mean, will the Massa token will it have value there?
Yeah, so mainnet is not only for node runners. So it starts with node runners because it's like every blockchain network starts with node runners. You have to start the network and secure it, and this is what's happening on the 15th. But right after that, anyone will be able to use the token. You don't have to be a node runner to transfer tokens to other people. You don't have to be a node runner to use application built on Massa. You don't have to be a node runner to have a say in the governance of the token. So yeah, it will start with node runners and the TGE and on Monday, but there's plenty to come, and everyone is welcome, and be part of the community and play with the tokens. Everyone is welcome, basically.
Okay, great. And I think, let's see, questions. Oh, here's one on vesting. Why was it decided not to allow to stake lock tokens? That would motivate everybody with lock tokens to run nodes, which is equal to, or if not better than, it's the same thing as better decentralization. So are they wrong?
Yeah, so this is basically a technical issue. Well, at some point we thought about allowing a vested token to be staked, but at the end of the day, it does not change much because the proportion of tokens, it's maybe a bit technical, but it's the same proportion of token whether they are locked or not. So it's just simpler if people can vest only tokens that are already vested and not tokens that are still locked. Technically, it's easier, and it's also easier to understand for people. So that's why we chose to go that way.
Okay, great. Now we have a bunch of technical questions. So Damir, I guess you'll take those. Great. So why does Massa need so many validators?
Well, Massa is meant to be a very decentralized network. So the more validators we have, the more independent computers, the more independent people, the more independent countries are represented in the infrastructure, the more redundancy we have, the more political independence we have, the higher is the safety, and the more all these individuals are balanced, and not just like a few have all the power and the others do nothing, the more they're balanced, the more resilience we have against any kind of attackers. So that's the main reason. It's essentially decentralization.
Okay. Tell me about the stakeholders benefit. How can people contribute as a validator?
So anybody who has at least 100 coins, that is actually many of the people who even have participated in the quests, for example. If you have 100 coins and a decent desktop computer with a decent internet connection, you can run a node. When you run a node, make sure that you stake your tokens so that you produce blocks. And whenever you produce blocks, you're rewarded with coins. So that's how you actually contribute to the security of the network, and you gain coins in exchange. So all the information to start your node, use it, launch it, is on docs.massa.net on the official documentation.
Okay, and what are the minimum hardware requirements? I mean, is the hardware requirement independent of the roll count or bandwidth requirements, or how does all that work?
So the hardware requirements have not changed since we announced them on the FAQ during the testnet. So that it's still 8 cores, 16 gig RAM, and a disk of 1 terabyte. So it's essentially a normal desktop computer nowadays. So the internet connection needs a couple megabytes per second. The usage of the bandwidth is about a couple megabytes per second as well. So you need to have a decent internet connection, but it should be fine. And is it dependent on roll count? Well, very little. So given the scale of Massa and its decentralization, we can confidently say that the hardware requirements will not depend on your roll count right now.
Okay. And how can people migrate their Massa node from one server to another?
Okay, for this, it's quite simple. You stop the first server completely, and you launch the second server. You install it the same way you installed the first one. Just make sure about one thing, make sure that at no point in time, both servers are running. Because if you have the same keys staking on 2 servers at the same time, then you will get slashed. So make sure you first completely stop the first before installing the second one from scratch, like you did for the first one.
Okay. And the Massa Lab staking rolls is high. Will they disappear?
Okay, so the Massa Labs has some initial staking roles that are quite high. The idea for that is to stabilize the network while it's still very vulnerable at the very beginning. So, for example, when especially before the genesis, so before Monday, We want the network to be stable. We want everything to function right away. So even if a lot of people who are initial node runners fail to show up, we can still recover from it. That being said, this is going to dilute very heavily. So when other people start staking, when they start bringing their nodes to the network, especially all the testnet node runners that have not gotten the initial roles, when they join, when the other people join, we expect this ratio to fall below 1%.
Okay, and this is an interesting one. Does Massa support delegation? One of the ambassadors asked that yesterday, and I gave the answer, and I want to hear yours.
Yeah, so Massa is not meant to support delegation because we want to be decentralized, because delegation tends to centralize power. That being said, you are still allowed in a way to do it technically speaking. So a given node can run multiple keys, but there's no in-protocol delegation. That means that you need to really give your private keys to the person that will stake for you. You don't have other choice, and it's very, very insecure. So you need to trust somebody for it to work. And that's because Massa has not been designed with this in mind for good reason, because it tends to centralize things.
Okay, that's not relevant. That's not relevant. How about this one? What wallet options are there?
So there are a few wallet options. So there is the node wallet, the command line node wallet that node runners are familiar with. It's the one that comes essentially with the node. So this one works, no problem. Then there is Massa Station. And by the way, a new version was just released this afternoon, so a couple hours ago. So feel free to give it a try if you had issues before. It's connected to the mainnet, so it's all ready. You can use it. And finally, there's some community wallets out there, like Bearbuy, for example. You can also use them, but beware, because they are not official wallets. So the Massa team has not reviewed the source code. We cannot guarantee their safety. We cannot guarantee any support for them either. So, but you have many options.
Okay, here's one. Is Massa EVM compatible?
Massa will not be EVM compatible right away. It's for multiple reasons, essentially performance reasons, that we did this choice initially. But we have made a trade-off because we are using WASM, like a WebAssembly virtual machine, that's capable of being programmed in something that, in languages that many people know, like especially web developers. If you know TypeScript, essentially you can make smart contracts on Massa. So that's kind of the target that's a bit complementary to the existing developers that we are aiming for. And that being said, we don't exclude any kind of EVM compatibility in the future. It's something we are studying.
Okay, and I guess the last tech question I'm seeing is, are there any tools or dashboards available for monitoring the operational status and performance of the Massa nodes? And if so, how can they be effectively utilized?
Okay, so there are a few tips to check if your node is running well. They are all on docs.massa.net. There's a checklist of things you need to check to make sure everything is fine. So the node itself publishes some logs, so you can look at the logs of the node. The client itself, the command line client, also provides you a get status command. If you type get status, you get the list of input connections, output connections, the balance, etc. And if everything works well, you should see your balance increase over time because you're producing block and you're being rewarded for it. So that's the best indicator usually. Again, everything is on docs.massa.net. And one thing to know is also that the node now exports Prometheus metrics and health checks on port 31248. So for advanced users, they can actually get some deep information there. I hope this answers the question.
Okay, yes. And let's see, the next bunch of questions are community and marketing, so I guess I'll take those.
Do you want me to ask them, or?
I mean, I'm looking at them. Yeah, you feel free. Absolutely.
Okay. So there's one on marketing campaigns. Are there marketing campaigns planned? And if so, when will they start? And any big partnerships?
Yeah, I mean, they're already starting, and they're going, all the way through to the listing and beyond. A lot of it is focused on content. First we engage, the initial node runners in our own community. There's going to be plenty of news to announce, which is going to generate excitement, and that's the content itself. Of course, there's going to be articles, threads, and an AMA around a possible public sale that's coming very soon. And a push for earned media as well around details around the airdrop. There's going to be some co-marketing as well. We've got a new partnership that we're excited about that we're going to be announcing next week or the week after. There's a possible launch pad where there obviously be co-marketing with them. Marketing around our DeFi proposition, just that we have unique tech, and our marketing, a lot of it goes to developers, especially, and our tech, on-chain web and especially autonomous smart contracts really has the potential of changing DeFi as we know it. In addition to NFTs and games and stuff like that, but they can do really, really neat things with DeFi that we haven't seen before, and we're really especially excited to engage with that community. Also, the community and the marketing is everywhere. We are a decentralized network, so a lot of it are the viewers out there. I mean, we're going to be, engaging KOLs. We have been and we will, but the goal isn't some temporary inorganic boost. It's really to develop value for it long term. So the campaign is us. I mean, in some way. The narrative is the content, and the narrative is radical decentralization. We are the chain that is truly decentralized across all layers of the protocol, from our everything. And that is something that other chains promise to be, but they're lying liars and they aren't. And we've got on-chain web, and we've got autonomous smart contracts, and that narrative is a winning narrative, and it's on all of us to push it. And there's so our unique features are autonomous smart contracts, and that's sort of the roadmap ahead, which is really exciting. And then later with the marketing, it'll be much heavier to developers after listing, really going after grants and bounties to with the money to encourage and develop products that will show off the unique features of our chain and bring to blockchain some functionality that has only been available in Web 2 or centralized exchanges, things like that.
Okay. Next one is, did you expect the community to be this big?
That's a bit of a softball, but the answer is yeah. We've done all the blocking and tackling with all of the the parts of Web3 marketing, but I am mostly I didn't expect the socials to triple in the last year, from like 15,000 to 50,000 on Twitter, or 35,000 to like 105,000 on Discord. Yeah, I mean, it's really nice with the worldwide communities, and it's nice, but a lot of it was the fanatical and passionate engagement of the ambassadors, and I'd like to call them out because they've done an amazing job in everything, in developing content, developing excitement around our tech, and really encouraging their local communities.
What kind of partnerships is Massa planning with other blockchains?
Well, at first, it will be a bridge. I mean, the bridge is going to start as a bridge to Ethereum for ETH, and that would be the first thing that will really make DeFi possible on our chain, and I think that's absolutely essential. And then in the future, to branch out to other EVM compatible chains as well, because that's really where there's so many users and so much liquidity, and that we'll need as well. But I think the first is going to be focusing on the bridge. which is also coming very soon. I'm not going to promise dates. There's a lot I can't say. There's a lot I wish I could say. We are saying what we can say when we can say it. But it would start with the ETH bridge, yeah.
The two next questions are a bit the same. Around marketing is important. How do you make Massa famous worldwide? But you already answered, I think, to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, there's in addition to everything that I've sort of said from from the content developers to the community, especially to the products that we're going to use the funds to sort of encourage, to KOLs, to you name it. We did get a question about crypto news, and yeah, I mean, we'll get there by our unique products, but our goal is mass adoption. It will be great, but a lot of it is pay to play. They feed on exclusives. They cover projects with inferior token distribution, but it's really all of what I said. It is the same thing.
And one particular question on the decentralized exchange. So where will we be able to trade Massa, in particular on decentralized exchange? Which one do we target?
Yeah, I mean, it's decentralized exchange is one question. I'm looking at 100 about centralized exchanges, but for decentralized exchange, yeah, I mean, that's what we're most excited to encourage, because decentralization really is the alpha and omega of Massa. We've got an ecosystem project that I want to call out called DUSA, which is a DEX, which does some really pioneering and unique things, and shows off our unique capabilities by automating liquidity management entirely on chain and bringing some advanced trading options like limit orders, dollars cost averaging, all kinds of stuff that they're going to keep iterating. And that's the type of thing that we're looking for. We're looking for innovation because there's a lot of DeFi products out there. So the innovation will make it possible for traders to do stuff in DeFi on a DEX that they couldn't do elsewhere, but also for developers in WebAssembly to make products. I've played with a lot of DeFi protocols, and a lot of them are just too complicated for my mom to use. And the type of things that we want to encourage are things that can bring a lot of new users as well, and bring the 99% of the web that don't use Web3 to the chain. So it's really about encouraging more projects. And as far as the questions about the centralized exchanges, and when listing, which is about 2/3 of the questions, it is happening. Look, our mainnet is coming in 4 days. Our TG, our token generation event, in 4 days at 10 a.m. UTC on the 15th. And a lot of the projects that did coin listings and coin releases in advance of the listings were rugs, and we are not like we're not some L2 that like locks up funds and never launches, like some that I'm not going to name. We're really launching on mainnet, and we will announce incredibly soon, as soon as 1 or 2 legal I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But it is truly coming. And we're, with the mainnet and with everything, it's a very, very exciting road ahead, and it is imminent, I promise.
So stay tuned for the announcement.
Yeah, we're here. We're, part of all of this is that we're going to be having more AMAs, many more in advance of the, a possible launch pad and a possible imminent listing. And we'll be here to guide you through the process and to answer all of the questions, the hard ones, the easy ones, and for the ones that we can't answer, I will get as close to the edge of answering as I possibly can.
That's all on your part.
Are there any other questions in here? Are there any other questions in here aside from when listing that haven't been answered? Most of these are redundant to ones that are either in the Medium article or that were asked in advance on the form that was linked to on Twitter. But are there any that any of you three are seeing?
Yeah, there's a question from Yunus. What will happen after blockchain ledger reaches 10 terabytes? Well, the interesting thing here is that it technically cannot happen right away, because in order to reserve some space in the ledger, you need to lock some tokens. That's how the fees system works. So it's calculated in a way that this amount of data is only reached if all the Massa tokens that ever existed are locked. That being said, there's a slight inflation over time on Massa, so the storage space will increase slightly, but it should not be that hard, especially initially.
Okay. Are there others, or is that pretty much it?
Yeah, there was also a question about DUSA. I think you mostly answered it in what you said, but just to clarify, DUSA will not be live on the 15th of January. Right now, we are just launching the raw network, and DUSA will come in a second phase after the public sale, and with the bridge. So no DUSA as start, but in the coming weeks afterwards.
Okay, great. So yeah, thank everybody. Thank you guys. And we will have another AMA soon with more good news soon. But stay tuned. There's also going to be some more announcements coming up this week. And just be, this is all going great, and I can't wait for Monday. And it's gonna be a sleepless weekend and a fun one. So just very, very, very excited. So. Yeah, we'll see you at the next one. So, thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Nice to get your support.
Cheers.
See you soon.